All right, we are live from the Empowered Moms Studios, and today the topic is fear and self-sabotage and not going for the thing that you really want in life or staying in a spot where it seems comfortable, but you recognize that it's actually a barbed wire safety net that you're staying in just because you're afraid of going anywhere else. And the reason I came up with this is because I have been working on a program for a while. I mean, it's technically done, and I'm creating bonuses because you know me. I over deliver. I create way more than I need to create. And also, honestly, creating courses has just been too much fun, and I don't want to stop. I have also been creating like the email sequences and things and doing like basically phase 3 of my diabolical plan to empower moms into actually taking control of their birth experiences and going for their dream births instead of getting the traumatic C-section or induction or being otherwise traumatized and disempowered in the birth experience, which leads to them hating themselves, wishing things were different, having all this anxiety. There's problems with their partner. Like, there's just so many areas that birth trauma affects, and I'm done with it. I told you at the beginning of this year, I said the gloves were off. I don't say anything I don't mean. The gloves have come off. So that has led me into my work on fear and with my personal life and what I've really picked up in the years that I was studying psychology and watching the dynamics play out and being like, why am I afraid to leave this toxic relationship? Why am I afraid to go for this dream that I have? Why am I so afraid of true love? Why am I so afraid to start my business? Why? That's one of my big questions. I always ask, why am I doing this thing that I know is going to lead me into a trap? Like, I know the killer's out there. Like, it's like in Scream, you know perfectly well that climbing up the stairs is not going to save you from the killer because they're going to run up after you. Why don't you go out the door, you stupid, you know? Like, it's like, why are you doing this? Why are you going that way? Why? Like, it makes no sense except in the terms of the slasher, you want the person to die because that makes the movie. You know, they're just a throwaway character, but you are your own main character. So you need to find a way to beat the villain. And the villain that you're beating is all your self-sabotaging and limiting beliefs that tell you this thing you want is too hard. And I have a whole list of pain traps, fear traps that you don't want to fall into. Honestly, the more I do this, the more I create these programs and things, the more I realize that everything that I'm teaching in the context of birth really is a context for life. So here's the thing. I was reading the other day. I decided to sit out with the kids. They were wanting to go to the park. It's a beautiful day. Summer is finally around the corner. I can sit out again and the kids can run around. And I was reading for work as usual, a book with basically they were saying, why is natural birth like basically endangered? And if you don't know about my work, let me just tell you quickly that there's a 1 in 3 C-section rate that's creeping up in North America, where so many moms are getting traumatized, so many are getting induced. And while this may seem like, oh, medical birth is safe, the opposite side of that is that these moms don't actually want these things. They're traumatized, they're begging for better, and they're not getting the information. So in this book, what it said was, well, the reason why there's so many C-sections is maybe there's not enough education. This is the angle of a lot of the books out there. It's like there's not enough education about the benefits of natural birth. So people are automatically going into these medical situations and they're thinking that that's the only way. Or maybe they don't know they have options. I can tell you right now that 90% of the women inside the natural hospital birth groups and even the natural birth groups where they're planning a home birth are still falling into what I have coined the natural birth traps. So even with all of this information out there that they can have a natural birth, that their body is meant to do it, why is it not working? Why is it that when we're reading books and taking classes, we're told, here is how to do the thing you want to do. And here are the exact steps on how to do it. And here is more information backing up the benefits of the thing you want to do. Here are all the risks that happen if you don't do this thing and instead go over here and do this. Here are all the bad things that can happen to you if you do the same mistake that you're doing over and over and what it leads to. We know all that. We know that eating junk food is not good for us and can cause long-term health complications and mess with our weight and mess with our sleep and mess with our overall health. We know that. We know that if you stay in a toxic and abusive relationship, that it's just going to drain you and you could actually end up killed, because a lot of people that don't leave those relationships, especially women, we're in danger. We know that. We know the red flags when it comes to certain people. We know that if we continue to stay in a dead-end job, that we're never going to make the money that we want to make. We know that it takes a lot more. We know all this stuff, and we know the benefits. We know the dream. We can see the dream. We can taste the dream. We want the dream. So why don't we take action? Why don't we go for the thing we really want when we know that it is for us? When we know we've had all the evidence and we just know that those benefits outweigh the risks. Why? Well, because we're stuck in information overload, and overwhelm is more like it. And because we haven't been taught anything else, and there's underlying fear traps that we're falling into. So I'll tell you about that in a minute. But first, I'm going to tell you about why information doesn't work. Well, first of all, in my work, what I see most often in the mom groups are 4 different categories of information overwhelm that is keeping them in the same loop where they're going to ask the same question in another mom group a week from now. And they do. And it's just devastating to see this, because I can see how they're basically being led right to the killer being the thing that they didn't want, which is the induction that they don't want, or the C-section, whatever it is. I'm like, oh my gosh, like the killer is like in that room, and you're going to that room and you don't know that the killer's in that room. And everybody keeps saying, oh, it's fine. That noise was nothing. And you go into that room. Well, 1, education. While great, while perfect, amazing, if you're not implementing it, it's just information. And you can't sift good information from bad information if you're not also tied to what you're looking for, and you're not clear that just because some medical professional wrote this book that is super popular and is out in the hands of so many moms, or it has a title on it that says this book is exactly for you, for the thing that you need. And it says something like everything you need to know if you're pregnant over 35, and you pick up that book. That's not the actual title, but it was basically that. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my God, I just have to put Post-it notes in here at some point to show them that this is basically everything that's going to go wrong because you're 35, and make sure that you have a natural birth. But at the same time, natural birth is inaccessible for you, and they teach the wrong version. Just because somebody wrote something, just because it's popular, just because everybody's sharing that same article, just because it happens to be accredited and have references, doesn't mean it's the right information for you. You need to learn how to pick and choose your information and curate it, and also question it. Question everything. Most people aren't doing that. They're like, oh, I've got this education now. That should cause it so that I don't feel as afraid. No. It's one piece of my 5-pillar system. The right education can help. However, it's not enough. And then the next one, pros and cons lists. Oh, I hate these. Every time I see that in the mom groups, I'm just like, no, you cannot make a decision from a pros and cons list. If you try to make a decision from a pros and cons list, you could be making that forever because you still have limiting information on it. And a lot of things that the moms do is they go into the mom groups and they say, hey, give me your pros and cons of this thing. So I need the pros and cons of having an induction versus having a C-section. I need the pros and cons of letting my baby come naturally versus inducing now because I've hit 40 weeks, like that sort of thing. They ask for the pros and cons. No amount of pros and cons are going to tie to the values of that person. Instead, you're just getting a whole mix of different people's opinions, and you're again gathering information, which may be biased, may not apply to you, and may also keep you stuck in the fear traps. So talking to people, I'm going to gather up as many different opinions on this subject as humanly possible. While also a little bit helpful, if that's all you're doing, you're getting information and pros and cons and asking other people for their opinions, you're again getting into information overwhelm, which is again why I hate the mom groups. Because even though I'm in a lot of them, I'm in there for support, but I'm the one that's basically breaking through and being like, hey, we can talk about this and you can keep getting multiple different opinions and people that are in their own fear traps that are going to lead to undermining your confidence in this. Or I'm going to ask you a question. It's going to spark something inside of you, something you maybe weren't picking up on before. More on that in a minute. And it's going to get you thinking. Basically snapping them out of the information overwhelm. So they're like, oh, wait, I don't need to read all these other people's opinions. I already know the answer, because you do know the answer. If you have a dream that hasn't stopped being like a beacon to you, you already know the answer. You know that staying where you are, if you recognize that you're in a barbed wire safety net and it's poking at you, and it doesn't feel comfortable at all, but you think, if I don't stay here, I have no safety net. So when I try to take an action, I have nothing to fall back on. So I'm going to stay here, like I did with my toxic abusive relationship, and said, well, you know, I need somebody to be able to help with the kids and everything. Like, I need a partner. I can't do this on my own. I can't be a single mom. I don't know how to do that. And I stayed stuck. I knew it was hurting me. I knew it was tearing me down. I was already very well aware of that. In fact, recently I was looking through old pictures of me with the kids and I'm like, gosh, I look so sad. And it just broke my heart. I'm like, my gosh, my babies were at the cutest stage ever. And I was stressed out because of what I was going through. And I could even pinpoint, oh, this is the same day that we took the kids out and this had happened before that. So I was really like, it's sad. But I mean, people do that. It's like the moms and they're like, oh, I want to have a natural birth. So I'm going to go to the exact same hospital that gave me the C-section before, and maybe I'll get a different outcome. No, that is a barbed wire safety net that is just going to keep hurting you over and over. So you've got the pros and cons list, not good. You've got the overwhelm of information. I just need to read another book. I just need to take another course. Maybe I need to just get more articles and bombard that to myself so I can understand. Or maybe they're even trying to convince their partner. This is the other thing I help with, is it's like maybe they're resourced and they know they can do it, but their partner is resisting and you need the right support. So same thing. This applies if you're in the fear trap or somebody else is in the fear trap. If you're seeing resistance, they're probably in a fear trap. This is what it is. So then the last one is looking for signs, signs that you're on the right track. Let me tell you that even when I knew without a, like, I knew that something needed to happen and I was still holding back to take that action. Even though I was saying to the universe, send me a sign, send me a sign. And the universe sent me a sign. And I'm like, no, no, something else, something else. No, no, no. If you're asking for more evidence after you have already collected enough evidence to know that, yes, you're on the right track. Yes, this person does feel this way. It's their own thing. Or yes, your client is coming. It's just that they've got stuff they have to work through. Or yes, your business idea will be a success. You just got to keep at it. Or yes, your kid is actually dealing with this and you need to do something. Yes, your partner is abusive. You need to leave them. Like, you're getting all of the signs and you keep saying, send me a sign. Your intuition, your first gut feeling was the sign. Don't wait for it to get so bad that you're sitting there and you're just looking at your kids and you're like, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Like, you just saw me at a really vulnerable moment and I've been broken down and you just saw that. And that was not something I wanted to see. Or maybe it was recognizing that the furnace was already on the fritz and nobody wanted to do anything about it and feeling completely powerless. But you knew that that furnace was going to catch fire. You didn't know when, but you knew. Like, that kind of idea. It's like, there are always signs that maybe that relationship isn't what it's supposed to be. Maybe that idea that you had isn't really the thing, because you're not getting, like, you're already getting signs. It's like, this is not going to work. Or maybe it's that, oh, maybe I should do something a little bit more. Maybe I need to push further and risk pissing somebody off to get that furnace fixed, or else it's going to erupt and burst into flames and I'm going to lose pretty much everything. Like, that sort of thing. Or maybe it's the other side. It's like, I've got the signs that I could really do something here. I could actually start a business. I could write a book. People are listening to me. They're hanging on my every word. They're telling me that I should do something with this, that I should charge money for this, but oh no, I'm too scared. Or, hey, I've recognized that, like, this single mom thing might not be so bad. It might actually open me up to something better in the future. And moving towards that. Nope. Can't do that if you stay stuck in information overload. If you keep looking for more signs, more confirmation after you've already gotten all the confirmation you really need. And usually it's about 90 days. 90 days is perfect amount of time for the universe to give you the signs. If in 3 months you have gotten enough confirmation that something is for you, or something needs to be let go of and burnt to the ground to allow something new to rise up, that's enough. That is enough time. I started to see that I needed to leave a lot quicker than I had wanted to way back in January of 2021. By April, everything had blown up. And I knew, it's like, okay, nobody else is helping me, but I've got to help myself, because now, like, things have gotten even worse and it's now affecting other areas of my life and it's affecting my kids. Or at the same time, I had signs that my business was actually going to lead to a client. I hadn't had a client yet, but I had enough moms reaching out to me, including Jenny. Hi, Jenny. I love you. Thank you. Because in January of 2021, that's when she reached out to me and she said, hey, I want to take your classes. I want to get some help. I want to heal my birth trauma. You told me about it before. I wasn't ready, but now I'm ready. I want to heal my birth trauma. And I said, okay, well, here's what you need to do. And she kept talking to me. And then I'd also found out from another friend that, like, she had just dropped a lot of money on another program for baby sleep. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and now she wants to take my classes, but I'm going to do one better because I can see how this could be a very powerful partnership. So I brought her in and she co-founded the Empowered Birth Workshop with me. And we got clients and we have the most amazing case stories and we've transformed lives with this. Like just earlier today, Jenny and I were jamming out a little bit through Messenger and coming up with more ideas. I mean, she's got her stuff, I've got mine, we've got Empowered Birth Academy. And like, that's the thing, is that in 90 days, I had confirmation. And then in April of that year, I taught my first workshop, got my first client, then taught another workshop a couple months later, got another client, kept getting those signs. Now, if I'd kept saying, oh, show me a sign. So what did I do? Well, instead of just getting information, I took action. That's the key. In order to go from information overload to actually getting the result, you have to take action, which means you got to face your fear and make sure that it doesn't control you anymore. Because if you're still staying stuck in your fear, well, then you're not going to move. For a long time, I was stuck in my fear of leaving my relationship, fear of starting over, fear of starting a business, like fear even of childbirth. There was a time I wanted desperately to be a mom and I was terrified to get pregnant. So when moms say, I'm scared of the pain, I get it. And that leads to the 3 fear traps that I have talked about on my program, in my program. And I have a masterclass that I put on my website. And like, this is a thing that I'm diving deeper with, the fear traps. Fear trap number 1 that undermines your confidence and stops you from taking action is fear of pain. Now, in the realm of childbirth, it's obvious, it's like actual pain. They're afraid of the pain. But there's this thing called the fear, tension, pain cycle that Grantley Dick Reed had talked about in his book, Childbirth Without Fear, where the more you tense up and resist, the more painful it is. But when you surrender to it and let it move through you and feel that pain or feel those feelings, go through that discomfort, it doesn't hurt anymore. And you're like, bring it on. So in all aspects of my life, I've really used this. I think childbirth really trained it for me, but it's like fear of that intensity of emotions that you feel, fear of that work, the hard work that you have to put in. It's like in the terms of my business, oh, it's going to be hard to get started. I have no idea. I have no training. Well, it got easier once I had my 5-pillar system in place, which if you've followed me for a while and you're my friend, you know about my 5 pillars, okay? So I don't need to get into that. And if you want a refresher, you can always go back and look at my other videos, but I'm not going to get into that too much. Basically, that's your safety net once you identify your pain trap, okay? So the fear trap. So your fear trap of pain, it's going to be hard. It's going to be painful. It's going to be intense. I'm not sure if I can handle it. Like my body can't handle it, or my mind, I can't process it. It's just going to be too much. The other part is like, it's going to be hard to maintain it. How to keep it. Well, once I get the thing, maybe I'll do the work and it'll be hard, but I'll get there and I'll do the work, but then I have to maintain it. So that's a whole other level. I have to grow in order to actually maintain it. And I'm not sure if I want to grow. So then there's the fear of the growth within the pain. I'll get into more of that at another point. So then fear trap number 2 on my list is the fear of something going wrong. Oh my gosh, how many times do I get that one? It's like, well, if I say no, then something will go wrong. It's like, how do you know? How to get out of this one, first of all, is I call it could, might, possibly, maybe happen. You entertain the idea that, first of all, There's no guarantee that it will go wrong. There's no guarantee that it won't go wrong. There are no guarantees in life. However, what you're doing by staying stuck in the I'm afraid of something going wrong is you're not growing, you're not changing, you're not learning, you're not expanding, you're not getting that experience, the lesson that you might need in order to get to your actual dream. By saying, oh, I'm afraid of something going wrong, you're also staying stuck in that barbed wire safety net. You know, the one that's not going to propel you to your dreams. It's just sitting there and you think that it's safe, but really it's just cutting into you. I know it's a really awful metaphor. I probably shouldn't also mention that underneath that safety net is a big vat of lemon juice and salt. Anybody who knew me from high school probably knows what I'm talking about, because that was one of my torture methods that I would come up with. It's like getting little tiny cuts and then going into a vat of, yeah. But that's the idea, is you are already there. You're hovering over this vat of lemon juice and there's salt that you're going to be rubbed into with that barbed wire safety net. If you don't get out of that barbed wire safety net, you are going to be in even more pain. And then something really will go wrong because you're staying there. But most people don't recognize that. So you have to be like, well, this could happen, or I could get out of this barbed wire safety net and land into a better safety net. And maybe I don't even need the safety net. Maybe it's actually soft, fluffy clouds or even soft, fluffy pillows underneath. And I just see the pool of the lemon juice and salt, but I don't realize that there's like the soft, fluffy pillows or maybe sand, and it's comfortable and it's nice. And there's actually a really, really nice beach that I can go and lay on. I don't need to be over here in this horrible torture. Well, you're not going to know that if you stay in the, well, what if something goes wrong? And again, you create the 5-pillar system, you can plan that out. The other part of it is not just, well, what if it goes right, or maybe it does go wrong, but entertaining those fears. All right, something might go wrong. You're right. Okay, so what do you think is going to go wrong? What's your deepest, darkest, most horrible fear? And let's dive into that. And then create a safety net around that. You're getting out of the barbed wire fence or the barbed wire safety net. You're getting out of that, because otherwise you're getting dropped into that vat of lemon juice and salt, and that's not going to be fun. And before you make that jump into this nice pile of sand, we're going to create a safety net for you. So you know that even if that sand hurts a little bit at first, or you're not used to it, you'll be okay. Like, you'll be okay. And if that bad, scary thing does happen, you got a plan for it and you'll live. You'll survive it. I mean, I could give so many examples on that. And then there's fear trap number 3, which is in my work, I call it the fear of pushback from the medical system and punishment. But really, this again comes down to, well, if I do this thing, I might have to have an uncomfortable conversation with somebody. I might have to end a relationship. I might have to be out of rapport with somebody. I might have to have a conflict. Like, something is going, like, people are going to disapprove of me. If I get too successful, if I have this amazing relationship, people are going to be like envious of me, and they're going to be mean to me. They're going to hate me for this. They're going to think that I think I'm better than them or something, because I've risen above where they are, and they're going to resent me. Well, the way out of that is to stop caring what people think and recognize again that anyone who truly loves you, they might be uncomfortable when you have to tell them your truth. And at the same time, you need to recognize that if they truly love you, they'll get over it. If my ex had really just said to me, hey, it really isn't anything wrong with you. I'm recognizing that I deceived you and I'm not who I said I was. And you know what? You actually deserve better. Not you're bad and wrong and you suck and nobody's ever going to want you, which is what I did here, but instead recognizing like we're just not a good fit, which is how I broke up the relationship. I actually said that. So like I said, look, we're just not good together. And I'm sorry I kept you for so long because I recognize we're just not good together. It's not a good fit. And you have an opportunity here to be happy. So go take it. Go be happy. Same thing as like with moms who are like, hey, I really wanted to have this home birth. And it's like, yeah, I know. But then at some point they recognize in their intuition, it's like, you know what? At this point, I do want a little bit of medical assistance and I do want to change my plan. And it's like, that's great. You have recognized what you truly need. And it's not from a place of fear. That's the point. You can't be in the fear traps when you make a decision to pivot. You have to be willing to have those uncomfortable conversations. You have to be willing to disappoint people. And you need to recognize that sometimes certain people are just jerks. I mean, you might get pushback. I tell my clients like, oh, absolutely. The medical system absolutely might push back. They might threaten you. They might try to manipulate you. They might try to coerce you. So rather than being afraid of the manipulation and the coercion, let's give you a sword so that you can fight back. And let's give you a shield. And let's add some fairies to that so that when it's time for you to throw your sword of truth, the fairies have already enchanted it and it's going to go right into the dragon's heart. And that leads into my my cheeky method of getting out of fear, which I, again, don't have time to get into. But that's the basis of it, is the fear traps. Why information doesn't work is because it's not addressing the underlying fear traps. So now I'm going to ask you, if there's something that you haven't been able to take action on, if there's something that you have complete confirmation on that it is for you and that it is going to be amazing, and yeah, there's going to be a few little challenges, but it's still going to be so incredible that it'll be worth it in your life, in your business, whatever it is. If you haven't taken action yet, ask yourself which of the fear traps you're currently stuck in. And if you want to know more, you can always go to check out my friend and mentor, Donald Stojak's channel, Donald Stojak Talks to Interesting People, where I had shared a little bit about my method on getting past fear. I believe I recorded it with him back in actually last year around this month, I think it was. It was called, well, I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it's like Donald Stojak Talks to Carly Bondard. You'll be able to find it. And it's the one from April where I talk about fear and I use the metaphor of Sleeping Beauty and the prince, because the prince knew that his princess was waiting for him. Before he'd been told, oh, Princess Aurora is going to be at the castle, and was like, I don't want Princess Aurora. I want the one in the forest that I met and danced with and sang Once Upon a Dream with. And then that's when he got captured by the witch or fairy or whatever they want to call Maleficent. But the idea is she's evil. She's kidnapped him. And she says, oh, by the way, if you just stayed at the castle, Princess Aurora was waiting for you there. And that's also your Briar Rose. And then he's like, oh crap, I got to go save her. Otherwise she's going to sleep forever. So that's the thing, is you've got that ultimate dream. You know, it's for you. Now you got to go and get out of fear. So I lay that out inside of that video. You go check it out. I might share it later just as like a reminder, because it was so awesome. I go back and watch it every time and I'm like, wow, like that was the first time I'd ever done that talk. I hadn't really had that piece. It was like, how do I teach my process of getting out of fear in a way that's not tied to birth. And then I came up with that. I'm like, wow, like that's awesome. And now I have it inside my program, which is really cool. And it's got such a fun, amusing acronym. And I'm a little cheeky with it. But yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. As you can tell, I tend to practice these. And then what I do is I refine them, I reiterate them, I find new ways of teaching it inside my programs. So if you watch this and you're like, wow, this is really good, and I have questions about something, just put it in the chat or in the comments or ask me in DM and I'll get back to you, because like I want to go deep into this. Fear has kept me stuck for a very long time. It kept me playing small, as I shared on my reel yesterday. And I'm done playing small. The gloves are off, but I'm not just done playing small. I want my friends to be done playing small, because you know what? When you don't face your fear, the darkness wins. Do we want the darkness to win? No, we don't want the darkness to win. No way. You don't want that. That's like letting Joffrey from Game of Thrones survive, or Ramsay Bolton. He's even worse, letting him survive. The Night King, you basically need to have the dragon glass dagger. But I digress. The key is not information. It's really not. I mean, it's helpful. It's useful. It's really good at helping you create a better safety net for yourself, along with the rest of the 5 pillars of getting some support, finding a better environment, getting a partner who truly supports you, and friends and family that truly support you so that you can kind of get out of your own head, and also having the right mindset. Like all of that is important, and having mentors and coaches is important. And at the same time, you could have all of those things and still not take action if you haven't solved your right mindset. Pillar number 1. And pillar number 1 is all about your vision and the fear traps. So now that I've shared that with you, go forth, get your right mindset, get out of your fear, go take action on your dreams. If you are feeling stuck, identify which fear traps, and you might be in more than one of them, you are falling into, and then use the information you already have to create your safety net. Use my super secret, powerful acronym of STFU to get out of fear and go take over the world, because we're already 4 months into the year. Okay. We're already 4 months into the year. The first quarter is like pretty much done. Like we're moving forward. It's now springtime. You got to plant those seeds and you got to start watering them and making them grow, because what are you going to want to show for it at the end of the year? You know, it goes by so fast. And the most precious thing we have is time. So you could keep grabbing information and keep sitting on it, not taking action, but nothing's going to grow. I, on the other hand, I gather information as like a side thing, but most of the time I'm just putting my stuff out there. I'm taking action. Even this right now is planting a seed for the future, because there might come a point where I'm like, I need to create more. And then I'll just go back and I'll watch this and I'll find another idea within the magic. I don't know where this is going to lead. I just really like soapboxing, and it's gotten me more confident talking on camera. So if you're wondering how the heck did Wallflower Carly get so confident on camera that she can talk about anything, this is how. I took action, and you can too. Get out of the fear traps, get out of your own way, and go achieve your dreams. All right. I'll talk to you later.